The man who had just woken up didn't notice the news playing on the TV. It reported harmful updates about an unknown virus similar to rabies that was spreading rapidly across the world. Infected people were losing their minds, and the disease was extremely aggressive. The public was urged to take strict preventive measures. He didn't see the broadcast. After going out as usual, he noticed many ambulances on the road. At the supermarket, people were panic buying supplies. Ray found it strange but didn't think too much about it. He went back home with only a few days worth of food. That evening, his sister sent him a video, and only then did he realize what had happened. She worked in a government department and knew inside information. The virus was far worse than what was being reported. Officials had already built a safe zone on an island. She told him to come quickly so they could take refuge together. Hearing how serious the situation was, Ray immediately booked a ticket and prepared to leave. But when he lined up to board, the ticket-checking system suddenly failed. Moments later, all flights were cancelled. Everyone's phones buzzed with an emergency alert. The virus was spreading too fast, and the entire country was now under martial law. No one was allowed to leave. People panicked. Ray quickly called his sister. She told him to go home and wait. She would send someone to pick him up. But when he returned, he found the streets blocked. People who had received the news were already running for their lives. Seeing the chaos, he abandoned his car and walked home with his luggage. When he arrived, he saw his neighbor's home surrounded by soldiers. Inside, someone was tied up, roaring and writhing violently. Ray felt his scalp tingle with fear and hurried away. The next day, his sister brought worse news. The government wasn't only enforcing martial law, they were establishing large quarantine zones to contain the virus. The army would soon evacuate everyone, but even after evacuation, it would be far more dangerous than the island safe zone. She told him to avoid soldiers at all costs and wait until the city was fully abandoned so they could retrieve him. Thinking of how long that might take, Ray rushed to the supermarket to gather supplies. But the shelves were already empty. He picked up whatever food was left scattered on the floor. Just as he filled his backpack, a police officer ran in, clutching a bloody arm. Terrified, the officer locked the supermarket door. Before Ray could react, he saw a large group of people outside screaming and running. Then the injured officer suddenly collapsed, infected. Ray grabbed a stick to defend himself. The chaos intensified. He and another officer fought off infected people together, barely surviving. But before Ray could celebrate, he saw the wounded officer inside mutating rapidly. Horrified by the sight of his companion, another injured officer shouted for Ray to get away, then shot himself in despair. Ray returned home and immediately secured all the doors and windows. Outside, the army continued evacuating people. Soon there was a loud knocking at his door. Ray hid in a corner, holding his breath, and narrowly avoided being found by the soldiers. Half a month passed. The entire city had become a ghost town, completely abandoned. Yet Ray still hadn't been rescued. There was no signal, he couldn't contact his sister. His food ran out, and he had no choice but to venture out to search for supplies. Armed with only a fishing spear gun, he didn't dare go far. He broke into nearby homes, searching one after another, but found nothing. Just as he was about to give up and move to the next house, he unexpectedly found another survivor, an elderly woman in tears. She had missed the evacuation because both her legs were disabled. Her presence made things even more complicated. She spent her days watching the streets from the windowsill, knowing which neighbors had stocked up on food. Under his guidance, Ray not only started to gain skills, but he also accidentally found a motorcycle in one of the houses, which increased his mobility and greatly expanded his range of activity. Soon, Ray gathered many supplies again. The two supported each other for a while, but as nearby resources were gradually used up, they ran out once more. Just as he was wondering what to do next, the old lady called him on the walkie-talkie at night. She told him she listened to the radio every day and had received a message that someone was establishing a stronghold and gathering survivors who couldn't evacuate. Ray was immediately excited, but there was no activity on the walkie-talkie. He firmly believed that staying busy meant not giving up and that they could escape this place together. But the next morning, when he packed up and was ready to leave, he discovered that the old lady had taken her own life with medicine. Saddened, he could only head to the coordinates alone. When he arrived, he found the place already destroyed. The roar of countless infected surrounded him instantly. He dodged desperately to escape. His simple motorcycle helped him outrun them easily, but before he could feel relieved, a sudden pile of corpses appeared ahead, startling him and causing him to fall. In pain, he lifted the motorcycle, but it wouldn't start. Seeing the infected closing in, he abandoned it and ran as fast as he could. After a long run, he finally reached safety outside a dock fence. but there were no ships, leaving him trapped again. Then he noticed a patch of gas floating on the water nearby. He quickly used a small boat to flee, but soon after setting off, it began to break down. Just when he didn't know what to do, he saw a freighter approaching from a distance. Ray shouted for help and was rescued again. However, the crew didn't understand his language, making him uneasy. Only one person on board knew a bit of his language. After hearing that the ship planned to dock for supplies and repairs, Ray quickly told them he was a local and could guide them, and that he knew where a safe zone was. The captain wasn't impressed. He had seen many survivors claiming the same later. Ray noticed the old man convincing the captain by lying that Ray was an engineer. In this apocalypse, skills meant survival. The old man pretended to be a pilot too, but there was only so much he could do. The rest was up to Ray. Late at night, Ray heard a cry for help. The crew had picked up more survivors. But the next day, those people were gone. Sensing danger, Ray asked the old man, who coldly told him to mind his own business. Ray realized the ship was far more dangerous than it seemed. Quickly claimed he knew of a hospital with helicopters and that they could escape there together. But after thinking it over, the old man still refused. Left with no option, Ray decided to escape alone. At night, he sneaked into the cruise lounge to steal the airboat key, only to find the survivors from the night before tied up. He rushed to untie them, but the moment one tried to escape, he was shot instantly. The guards and the old man ran down quickly. In the chaos, Ray suddenly attacked, and after a fierce struggle, he and the old man managed to kill the attackers. It turned out the old man had changed his mind after their conversation earlier. They hurried onto the boat with a few others, but were discovered. The remaining survivors were shot instantly. The old man fired back to cover them, getting wounded in the shoulder. The two barely made it to shore alive. They drove to the hospital, only to find no helicopters there. Unsure what to do next, Ray wasn't watching the road and crashed into an infected person that leapt at him. Blood covered the windshield. With no choice, he slammed the brakes to throw the infected off, then got out with a gun and eliminated it. He turned and took down the other infected approaching. Although this used up most of their bullets, it allowed them to enter the hospital safely. The old man's injury could not wait any longer, so Ray quickly searched for surgical tools. He heard movement coming from the ventilation duct. He stepped forward and listened carefully and realized someone was actually talking inside. Unable to find the entrance, he called out, but that immediately attracted an infected person. Before he could even breathe a sigh of relief, a large number of infected appeared after hearing the noise. Seeing this, Ray ran downstairs to escape, then rushed back to the operating room and quickly closed the door. But strangely, old man had disappeared. It turned out there were survivors hiding in a safe back route. They had already operated on old man. Ray also learned that a helicopter was parked in the backyard. To reach it, they needed to pass through an area with fewer infected. Just as Ray was debating whether to take the risk, gunshots suddenly rang out from downstairs. The group of gangsters from the freighter had also come here searching for supplies. In the chaos, they had to fight hard to survive. When they broke open a passage, a hidden infected suddenly jumped out and attacked, throwing a nurse to the ground. Although they quickly dealt with it, the woman was bitten. She told everyone to stay away from her and make sure the children got out safely. Everyone was heartbroken, but they still had to leave her behind. Soon, they reached the area filled with infected. They walked carefully one by one. Just as Ray was guiding the last child across, something unexpected happened, a scream. It instantly drew the attention of every infected nearby. In a panic, grabbed the baby and hid in a closet. But even that wouldn't hold for long. Just as he was about to lose hope, gunfire erupted outside and everything slowly quieted down. One of the gangsters searching the area had unintentionally saved him, without realizing anyone was hiding there. They narrowly escaped the crisis, but the hardest part was still ahead. The short 100-meter stretch to the gate was packed with infected. Looking at the fences around them, Ray came up with a plan. They tied the fences together to form a circle, using it as a shield to slowly push forward, but the plan wasn't perfect. The infected went crazy as soon as they saw them. It became extremely difficult to move, and infected even climbed over each other to get in. The group had to advance quickly while fighting non-stop. They finally reached the big iron gate safely. While someone worked on breaking the lock, others used the fence to block the doorway. As soon as the gate opened, everyone rushed inside and shut it again. But at the last moment, one infected managed to slip through. Ray fought desperately to buy time. At that moment, the gangsters also arrived and fired wildly, opening a path and forcing their way in. They shouted for everyone to stop running and stay put. Seeing their only chance of escape slipping away, Ray seized the moment to break the chain and open the door. A tidal wave of infected poured in instantly, overwhelming the gangsters. Ray himself was also in great danger. With more infected surrounding him, Old Man had no choice but to start the helicopter. After liftoff, he quickly threw down the rope ladder, climbed up just in time. After that terrifying escape, they rushed to the safe zone. As they left the area, their phone signals slowly returned. Ray immediately answered his sister's call and shared the joy of finally reaching safety. But the next second, he froze. Looking at the fighter jets roaring across the sky, everyone realized in despair that the situation over there was far worse than they had imagined.